Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the debut episode of the Strongcast Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Tyler Mitchell, aka the King of Strongcast. And before we get into the Raw and Smackdown reviews and the Fastlane preview and predictions, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that's given us a listen. Thank you for giving me a chance. This is a new journey that I wanted to start, and what really motivated me to start this were two people, actually. One being Conrad Thompson and one being JD from New York. And if you know both of those guys in the wrestling community, then you know they're big in the podcasting world. Conrad being a southern guy just like myself. I mean, he's from the Twin State just like I am. And JD, who had a similar background to what I had as far as working retail and just not liking it. And knowing that he loved professional wrestling like I love professional wrestling. And he decided to take a chance on himself, and it works out for him. And that's something that I want to do for myself. So I decided to take a chance on myself. I've been watching wrestling since 1999. So this is my 20-year anniversary of watching. I've been a fan ever since. I've even been in the ring for a few months, learning the tips of the trade. I've shared locker rooms with the likes of Jordan Grace and Big Daddy V, Viscera, Mabel, whatever you want to know him as well as a few other wrestlers. So I get the feel of being in the ring as a wrestler and being a fan. And that's why I want to do this podcast, give my perspective on both ends, and hopefully you guys can enjoy it. And again, I just want to say thank you to Conrad and thank you to JD for being inspirations for me. And I hope to work with you guys someday down the road. Alright, now let's get into the Raw and Smackdown reviews. Alright guys, so Raw comes to us this week from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And Raw started off this week with Roman Reigns coming out, and he gets a rousing ovation, and he says that last week was his comeback, but this week he's going to take the yard back, and he calls out Seth Rollins. Now Seth says he's going to take his motivation that he got from Roman and beating his leukemia to use it to slay the beast Brock Lesnar and bring the Universal title back to Monday Night Raw. Roman says Seth has protected Monday Night Raw in his absence and wishes Seth good luck in his match with Brock Lesnar. Roman says he needs a favor and wants the Shield to get back together. Now Rollins is hesitant because of everything that Ambrose has done, from attacking him right after Roman's announcement of his leukemia and their battles, but eventually he agrees to it, and they call out Dean Ambrose. And before Ambrose can come out and speak, Elias attacks him with a guitar. And the segment ends with Seth and Roman trying to help Ambrose up, and he's refusing their help. Now this is going to be an overarching storyline throughout the night, so just be prepared for more Shield stuff. Speaking of stuff that I'm not interested in, Lashley, McIntyre, and Corbin are interviewed by Charlie Caruso, and she brings up the Shield reunion, and McIntyre says that the last time he faced them, they were pathetic and living in the past. And now the guy that has go away heat with me, Baron Corbin, comes in, and he talks about the 6-man tag matches coming up next, with him, Lashley, and McIntyre taking on Strowman, Finn Balor, and Kurt Angle. And from that, we transition straight into the 6-man tag team match, and it starts off with Braun and Baron Corbin. Corbin gets a couple shots in, but then Braun does what he normally does, with, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Gotta make Braun look intimidating. Braun tags in Balor, and Balor starts cleaning house until Leo Rush gets involved. Side note, Finn and McIntyre will make a great IC title feud. Watching them in the ring together, it was just awesome, and I want to see it so bad, and maybe we can get something at WrestleMania. It's highly unlikely they'll probably do something with Bobby Lashley, which, no one really wants to see that garbage. Angle gets tapped in and puts McIntyre in an ankle lock, and Bobby Lashley breaks that up and eats a German suplex for his troubles. And we come back from commercial break, and Corbin and Angle are battling out, trading blows. Angle tags in Braun, and again, Braun does Braun things. Gotta make him look strong, folks. Taking out all the heels, hitting a running power slam on Corbin. Balor hits the coup de grace, and again, Leo Rush breaks it up. Lashley poses Balor on the outside. Braun runs in and flatlines Leo Rush through a barricade. Now that's something y'all should have seen. Bobby Lashley got out of the way, and he just straight up pancaked Leo Rush straight through the barricade. It was something amazing. The heels end up taking advantage though, and Lashley pins Balor to win the match. It was a decent match, but I have no interest in Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley as a stable. I think it's just makeshift. It's just to get the Shield over. Just wasting away McIntyre's ability. Nobody gives a fuck about Corbin, and nobody gives a fuck about Lashley, so here we go. They also end up attacking Balor and Angle with the steel steps. You can see what's coming a mile away, but we'll see how the night progresses. Natalya's out next, and oh boy, here we go again with the burial of Ruby Riott. Her grave keeps getting digged deeper and deeper. Natty lodged Ruby in the sharpshooter, and Ruby breaks out of it and tries to do a back and forth cradle with Natty, but Natty ends up sneaking the victory. Wasn't nothing to it. It was just there, and nobody really cared about it. And poor Ruby, I feel so bad for that girl, you know. She's busted her ass and is one of the hardest workers on Raw, and yet they treat her like this, and it's fucking disappointing. So, yeah, we'll see what's next. I mean, it's not like Natty's doing anything right now. Speaking of nobody that's doing anything in this world, the sassy Southern Belle, Lacey Evans, decides to show up and not do a damn thing except walk down the aisle waving and shit for no fucking reason. And then she walks back to the back. Wow. And we get a video package from last week's 70th birthday party for Ric Flair and the brutal attack by Batista on Flair, which was absolutely fucking amazing. I love the realism of Batista dragging the cameraman to that back room, saying, wait here, and then dragging Flair like he's a dead carcass ready to be feasted on, and telling Hunter, do I have your attention now? Oh man, that stuff you've got to watch. That is an all-time classic. But something that's not an all-time classic, Michael Che and Colin Jost of Saturday Night Live are on Raw and announced as special guest correspondents for Wrestlemania. Who the fuck cares about that? They have cringe segments throughout the night, so nothing to watch. You know, just like SNL nowadays is not really worth watching. Anyway, Triple H is out to address Batista, who isn't in the arena tonight. Although Batista did post a video on Instagram saying he just didn't want to be in Philadelphia, and they might see Triple H in Pittsburgh, or maybe he won't. He's just playing by his own rules and telling Triple H that's going to be game over for him. Triple H brings up the ashes of Batista last week, say he was there for Richard Fliehr, not Ric Flair. Said Ric Flair was at his side in the best of worst of times, including his son being buried and being married multiple times. He mentions Rick's health issues from last year, saying he might have passed away. You know, during that time, Rick was going through a lot, and he just wasn't looking in the best shape, and honestly, nobody thought he'd be here. And us as fans were really scared about that as well. He wanted to bring Flair out and celebrate one more time as the Nature Boy with the fans. He mentions that Batista had to quit multiple times, but this time he couldn't because he couldn't get his way. He says he'll face Dave anywhere, and just for him to show up. He says when Dave shows up, he says he won't be looking at the game, he'll be looking at the man. He says, you want my attention, Dave? You've got it. Man, if anybody knows how to sell a promo, it's Triple H. Just 110%. He could sell a promo without the opponent being there. Same way, similar to how John Cena sold last year when Undertaker wasn't there for everything for their WrestleMania match. Just great stuff. Triple H has that thing about him where he just gets everybody so amped up. He has so much passion in his voice when he's talking, and it rings through, and I'm looking forward to this match. I've been looking forward to this match for years. I was one of those people that wanted Dave Batista back, and I was one of those people that rooted for Dave Batista during the WrestleMania 30 season. Although, you know, the Daniel Bryan yes movement happened, and unfortunately everything got cut short for him, you know, and then everybody started making fun of him, calling him Blue Tista and all that crazy bullshit. So, you know, I'm just happy Dave's back, and I'm looking forward to this WrestleMania match. We catch up with Stephanie McMahon, who is being interviewed about the Raw Women's Championship. She reinstates Becky Lynch and wants her to sign a hold harmless agreement, and announces that Charlotte vs. Becky will be happening at Fastlane for the Raw Women's Championship. So, does that mean Ronda Rousey's out of the title picture? We'll find out later in the night. Poor Heavy Machinery. Not even really getting a chance to rise before they hit an all-time low. They were in a tag team gauntlet match with the B Team, the Ascension, and Hawkins and Ryder. If that doesn't tell you where they're going to be on the main roster, I have nothing else to tell you. This is fucking sad. It's fucking pathetic. And it annoys me so much that these new NXT call-ups are just being buried like they're jobbers or something. Like they're coming from the independent scene coming into the WWF like it's in the 90s or something. You know, trying to earn their stripes. And that shit just doesn't make sense to me. This right here really pissed me off just because... Why have this match? Why waste time with this match? Why not feature them as something more prominent? Why not have a number one contenders match for the tag team titles and have them go for it? Win it, you know? Fuck, give them something to do instead of this stupid bullshit. Anyway, they win the match, It's nothing special. It just showcases their talent. Whatever. But I wish they would have more prominent roles on the show. Tori Wilson is announced as the newest Hall of Fame inductee for the class of 2019. As far as that goes, it's tough to say, because Tori was a great focal point for the show. You know, she wasn't the greatest wrestler in the world, and nobody alive will admit that she was great, because she wasn't. But, you know, I think she has her place in it. I mean, there have been far less deserving people to be in there before her, so what's the big deal, you know? We all know that WWE's Hall of Fame is just a joke anyway. And next week on Raw, we finally get to see the face-off between Triple H and Batista. This is something I'm looking forward to, as I mentioned earlier. I'm ready to see these two get it on Wrestlemania. I wish it was a year-long thing for Batista. I know he had wanted to do that before coming back, but I believe this is going to be his retirement match. I believe he'll put Triple H over. If not, you know, Triple H should do it just because it looks good for Batista in Hollywood. So, you know, I'm just looking forward to this, and I know these two have a good rivalry. Their rivalry in 05 was really great. If you haven't ever watched that, go watch those trilogy of matches. Just awesome stuff, and all this background history with the two is just worth watching. So I'm looking forward to Raw next week and see how everything goes down. Now, we get back to the dumb shit with the SNL crew. You got EC3 posing like a fucking idiot again. And then Titus begging for pictures with Michael Che and wanting a good cheesecake from catering. Shout out to JD for that. Then No Way Jose comes in and starts dancing around him like a conga line. Why in the fuck are we doing this? Why are segments like this on this show? It makes no sense, it's garbage, and it's a waste of everybody's time that's involved. I have no place for this shit. I want to see wrestling. I don't want to see comedians coming in and trying to be stupid. Like, if I wanted to watch comedy, I'd watch fucking comedy show. I'm watching wrestling right now. Leave me the fuck alone. Anyway, we get another hype package for Tori Wilson, her Hall of Fame induction, as she's joining D-Generation X and the Honky Tonk Man, which sounds like a mega class this year, but we'll see how they finish up. Charlotte Flair is being interviewed backstage, still not mentioning her dad being attacked last week, which, what the fuck? Does she not care about her dad? Okay. She claims Becky is arrogant and doesn't compare it to the Queen. And Charlotte says that she's going to put Becky on the shelf once again. And Charlotte says that the WWE Universe will bask in her glory. Bask in her glory. Oh, hey Keith Lee, how are you? Hope you're doing well, man. Seth finds Dean backstage and he says that, you know, brothers fight. And calls him his wrestling soulmate. Says that they only get one shot to get the Shield back together. But Dean says no, he's busy with Elias. And then Dean and Elias happens next. And the dirt just keeps getting put on Dean as much as it is on Ruby. Elias defeats Ambrose in a short match with a driftaway. After the match, Seth and Roman come out to help Dean again, and Dean leaves. Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley come out to trash talk Seth and Roman, calling them pathetic again. Says that they were going to offer them a match at Fastlane, but wanted to end it tonight. The Hills corner Roman and Rollins. Dean's in the crowd watching on. And he just can't take it no more. He's sitting in the crowd just pacing back and forth, lunatic fringe, doing all that shit. And he runs down to the ring and starts beating up Lashley and Corbin. And the Shield stand tall with Roman, Rollins, and Ambrose doing the classic Shield bump. And the Hounds of Justice stand tall. And this is going to lead to a 6-man tag with Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley against Seth, Roman, and Dean in Fastlane. The Shield's last ride. So let's see how that goes before Dean Ambrose is out the door and potentially on the way to AEW. Women's Tag Team Champions Sasha Banks and Bayley are out as Sasha faces Tamina of the Samoan Slaughterhouse. After some outside interference from Nia Jax, Tamina pins Sasha Banks, setting up for their tag match at Fastlane. It is what it is, you know, they gotta show off that they beat the champs, you know. If you beat the champs, you're good, so gotta make them look credible. Oh well, it is what it is. Poor Sasha Banks. And, again, with the SNL crew, you know, this is dragged on as long as WrestleMania season has. Anyway, after we get through with that stupid shit, Ricochet and Aleister Black face the Revival for the Raw Tag Team titles. This match ends in a disqualification after the former Raw Tag Team Champions Rude and Gable attacked Dawson and Wilder, costing Ricochet and Aleister the tag titles. Hopefully this is a heel turn for both of them, because Bobby Roode desperately needed it. When he was a heel in NXT and a heel in TNA, he was way better than a babyface. Nobody wanted to see him as a babyface. So hopefully this will be good for them as a turn. But Ricochet and Aleister Black fight them off, and both do springboards, with Ricochet landing in his hero pose and Black landing with his legs crossed as they stare off Rude and Gable. Now this is setting up a 3-way tag team match for the tag titles at Fastlane. So that's another match to look forward to. Let's see how this heel turn works for Rude and Gable, and hopefully the Revival retain. We'll see how it goes. It is now time for our contract signing for the Raw Women's Championship at Fastlane. Stephanie McMahon is out, and she says that anything can happen on the road to WrestleMania. She brings up Ronda vacating the title last week, and she introduces Charlotte, who comes out with this cocky swagger. I love heel Charlotte. Way more than babyface Charlotte. But this whole storyline, had it not been for Charlotte screwing Becky, we would have never got to this point. And I'm talking about a SummerSlam when that happened. Everybody was behind Becky, even when Charlotte was a babyface then. So it's good to see Charlotte back in a role that fits her the best and fits a Flair the best. Becky is out next on her crutches and limping to the ring, still selling her knee injury. Charlotte is laughing at her as the crowd goes wild for Becky. Charlotte just complete asshole to Becky Lynch. Charlotte says Becky can sign the contract, or Stephanie could just hand her the belt. Becky says she had beat Charlotte on one leg before and could do it now, but Steph says hold off till Fastlane. Rousey storms into the building. Now, she wasn't even there until the very end. She drove in, came in, stormed into the ring, had that evil Ronda look that we all know and love, and man, she says she's here to reclaim the Raw Women's Championship, and that she's poured her heart out and got booed in her hometown, and that she'd break Becky and Charlotte's noses if they sneeze right in front of her. Just heel bitchy ass Ronda, and I absolutely love it. This is the Ronda we've been needing to see all fucking year. This is the Ronda we've been needing since day one. No more smiling, no more bullshit. She says, damn the man and screw the woo. No more Mrs. Nice Bitch. Ronda attacks both Charlotte and Becky, putting Becky in the armbar. And Charlotte dips out of the ring and watches on as Ronda stands on Becky. But then she attacks Becky again and puts her in yet another armbar. And Ronda stands on Becky's neck and stares Charlotte down. And now the match between Charlotte and Becky Lynch at Fastlane will be determining if Becky Lynch will be able to get into the main event of WrestleMania with Charlotte and Ronda. If Becky wins, she is in, and it is a triple threat match. If she doesn't win, she's out, and it's Charlotte versus Ronda at WrestleMania. Before Raw goes off the air, Stephanie is called backstage, and she says that she wants to see Ronda get what's coming to her at WrestleMania. She said that there will be a career-altering decision coming for Rousey next week, and Raw fades to black as Ronda is pointing to the WrestleMania sign. Now let's see what Smackdown has in store for us. We open up Smackdown Live with an in memoriam graphic for King Kong Bundy, who passed away Monday night. On a side note for that, that was unexpected. I think he had posted on Twitter about 3 hours before he had passed away, saying that he was going to be at a convention. And it's sad, man. We're losing so many of our childhood heroes, and, it's signs that we're getting older, and things are happening, and it was unexpected. So thoughts and prayers go out to King Kong Bundy's family. And also prayers go out to Jungle Boy's family. AEW wrestler Jungle Boy, whose dad Luke Perry passed away from a stroke recently. But let's get back to the SmackDown review. WWE Champion Daniel Bryan and Rowan are out, and a promo vid from last week's contract signing between he and Kofi Kingston is played, where Vince replaces Kofi with the returning Kevin Owens. And also the tag team match with Kofi and Kevin versus Bryan and Rowan, which Owens won by hitting Daniel Bryan with a Stone Cold Stunner. And I know I'll get flack for this, but I'm just not a fan of Bryan's heel turn. I'm just not. It just kind of defeats the point of everything that he came back for. He had this triumphant return. He had been out with injury, almost career-ending injury, and then just to have this heel narcissistic character, it's okay, but, and I've never been the biggest Daniel Bryan fan, but I was looking forward to Bryan versus The Miz at WrestleMania. That was a match I was really looking forward to. You had so much build for it, and all of a sudden they just stopped doing it. But, the character he has now, I really don't care for. I know a lot of people like it. I just don't. That's my personal preference. You don't have to like it. It is what it is. But anyway, Bryan says he sat quiet during the contract signing and that this week it's his turn to speak and for the fans to listen. He said that Kofi Kingston is a supporting player and that Kofi is with Xavier Woods and Big E doing promotional work in India. Then he shifts to Kevin Owens, and he says Kevin Owens looks just like the people in there. Now this is the part where I really got fucking pissed off. The camera, right after he says that, zooms in on two overweight fans, which is obviously making a joke on Kevin's weight. Now, Kevin has lost a lot of weight. You can see it from his indie days till now. He's lost a lot of weight. And he's in good shape. And I've seen where he, was depressed being out for a while in Ring of Honor, and all he would do was eat. So, making fun of the guy for that is so fucking stupid. And being a big guy myself, I don't approve of shit like that. It's fucking stupid. And Vince is so fucking petty for that bullshit. He says Owens is a nobody and with nothing to lose, but Daniel has everything to lose. Kevin Owens finally comes out and says that in his 5 months out with injury, that he spent time with his kids and wife, and it was hard for him to watch people do what he loves to do, except for when Bryan was in the ring. Daniel Bryan thinks that he's better than everyone else, and disgusted that Daniel threw the WWE Championship in the trash. Kevin says he's going to shut Daniel's condescending mouth, and Bryan keeps on bringing up, people eating fatty foods and telling them that they're the ones that need to keep their mouth shut. Kevin says he doesn't need a backup or a bodyguard like Bryan does, and gives a nod to Stone Cold for using a stunner to beat Bryan. KO attacks Rowan and attacks Bryan, but then is chokeslammed by Rowan as Bryan and Rowan stand tall over KO as we head toward their title match at Fastlane. R-Truth is having another U.S. Open title match later in the show. I wonder who's going to be in that. Should be interesting to see. Then we got a part of the tag team title match coming up this Sunday. Jey Uso versus The Miz. Jimmy and Jay come out talking about how they won the tag titles at Elimination Chamber and go on to mock Shane and Miz for being best friends and best in the world and all that. Even making fun of Shane's shoe game, actually admitting that Shane's shoe game was better than theirs, which, if you know anything about Shane McMahon, you know he's a sneakerhead and has all the best shoes out there, Jordans, whatever you want to find. And Shane's out next, speaking of which, him and The Miz are out. Shane says they have the heart and passion that made them the best tag team in the world, and they'll see who's laughing last on Sunday. Miz said he and Shane are going to lock down the tag division at Fastlane in Miz's hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, and a brawl ensues before we get up to the official match. It's a decent little match. Towards the end, Jay rolls up The Miz and Jimmy tries to help Jay get leverage pin, but Shane breaks it up, and Jay goes to dive on Shane but gets caught by Miz in the skull-crushing finale, and Miz pins one half of the tag team champions, very similar to the way Tamina beat Sasha Banks on Monday Night Raw. So, tag team champs taking L's. We get Kevin Owens versus Rowan announced for later tonight. Kayla Braxton's backstage with Charlotte Flair saying that SmackDown misses Becky Lynch and that she misses seeing Becky hobble around on a crutch or suffering from a Ronda Rousey beatdown. She invites Becky to the show tonight and mentions that if Becky beats Charlotte at Fastlane, that Becky will be inserted into the triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship at Wrestlemania. It says that she wants to have a friendly discussion with Becky. R-Truth and Carmella are out next, and it's time for an open challenge. Truth says he's exhausted, but Carmella says the Truth's hero, John Cena, always says never give up. Truth brings up seeing John Cena everywhere when John Cena says you can't see me. Truth is so fucking funny, just so goddamn goofy, and I've always been a fan of Truth. I watched him when he was K-Quick. I didn't really get to know him. I got to know him more as Ron the Truth Killings and TNA. And I just fell in love with him ever since. Dude's just phenomenal at what he does, and it's a shame that he's never been world champion in WWE, although he has been the NWA world champion. Going back to this, they break out into a 7-second dance break, and Truth says he has the open challenge that's going to start right now. Then that sassy Southern Belle, the nobody doing nothing Lacey Evans comes out. There's a little runway strut and walks away. I wish she'd go away for good, period. Anyway, Truth says she didn't want none. Truth being Truth, and I love him. Samoa Joe was the first to answer the call, with Truth's opponents from last week, Rey Mysterio and Andrade Cien Almas. Yes, I'm calling him Andrade Cien Almas. With his manager Zelina Vega out together, so now we're having a fatal 4-way for the U.S. title. We come back from commercial break, and Rey tries to do a crossbody on Joe, and Joe steps out of the way. Now this spot, you've probably seen it several times with Joe, where somebody's going up and they're trying to do a moonsault or something, and he's standing right there but just sidesteps with this cocky smirk on his fucking face. Like, bitch, you ain't catching me like that. I just fucking love him. I love Joe, so we'll see how his night goes for him. Everyone is down on the outside, and Joe attacks all three of the other competitors. Joe dominates Almas and Rey. Joe runs and dives through the ropes, throwing his body into Almas. Truth is still laid out at this point. Joe picks up Rey to throw him into the crowd, but Truth gets back up and dropkicks Joe into the barricade. Back from another commercial break, and Truth is on fire, lighting up Joe and Rey Mysterio. He hits a splash on Joe and then hits Joe and Rey Mysterio with a 5-knuckle shuffle. Then Truth tries to go for a axe kick on Joe, but Joe counters into the Coquina clutch. Rey then hits both of them with a 619. So far, action's breaking down and is going back and forth. Almost whips Rey into the ropes. Rey slides out and lands on Truth, who's on the outside. Almost powerbombs Rey on the floor. Zelina Vega gets involved and hits a Hurricane Rana on Truth. Then Carmella comes from behind and superkicks Vega for messing with Truth. Rey hits Andrade with a beautiful Canadian Destroyer into the 619. Rey splashes Almas and goes for the cover, but then Samoa Joe comes back in, hits a full body senton on both Rey and Almas, hits Almas with a Uranagi, and pins Almas to become the new United States Champion. Now guys, let me tell you about this right quick. I am a huge Samoa Joe fan. I have been for years, and seeing him finally get a title in WWE makes me so happy. He should have beat Lesnar. I believe it was at Great Balls of Fire, if I'm not mistaken. He should have beat him there. He should have been Universal Champion. He should have beat AJ Styles at SummerSlam to be WWE Champion. This man deserves to be a World Champion. And I think it's a Nakamura effect where, hey, you know, we gave you all these title shots. You didn't win, but we'll just give you the secondary title so fans will stop complaining. It is what it is. I'm happy for Joe. I'm happy he has a title, and I'm looking forward to see how this run goes because I know he can show out and be one of the most dominant champions in WWE. Becky Lynch is backstage on her crutch, and she's ready for a confrontation tonight with Charlotte. New Day sent a video in from Mumbai saying that they'll be at Fastlane this Sunday, which you'll hear about in my Fastlane predictions on what I think about that. Aleister Black and Ricochet versus The Bar is up next. And can I say that the brand split right now just makes no fucking sense with these NXT talents appearing on both shows? It doesn't make sense, you know? What's the whole point of having a brand split if you're just having people crossing over anyway? And the same goes for Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, even though, of course, you know, they're all tied into the Raw Women's title match. Anyway, The Bar beat down Ricochet for the majority of the match. And also, it was mentioned that Aleister and Ricochet would be challenging the Revival and Rude and Gable for the Raw Tag Team titles at Fastlane. Aleister Black comes in and goes on the attack of Sheamus. Cesaro gets the tag and cools it off, but Aleister hits the deadly Black Mass on Cesaro, tags Ricochet in, who hits the 630 on Cesaro to win the match. After the match, Shinsuke Nakamura and Nothing Happening Rusev attack Aleister and Ricochet before being helped by the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff. So the heroes stand tall to end this segment. Nothing really happened, nothing really special, just hyping up the NXT talent and getting them over as baby faces. Mandy Rose is out next with Sonya Deville as Mandy's facing her old foe, Naomi. Nothing to this match. Naomi had the early advantage. Then Sonya distracted Naomi. Rose hit her with a knee strike and a face buster to win the match. I don't know why this match happened. I guess it was just a little superstar style match that shouldn't even been on Smackdown Live, but oh well. As Mandy and Sonya are walking up the ramp, Smackdown Women's Champion Asuka comes up from behind and attacks both Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, leaving them laying, and this just adds to their match for the Smackdown Women's Championship at Fastlane. Rey Mysterio versus Andrade Cien Almas is announced for the kickoff show at Fastlane, which is just fucking disgusting. Two of your best workers on the show, and they're on the fucking pre-show. Reminds me of Neville and Austin Aries at WrestleMania 33 with that bullshit. So, I guess you gotta put them somewhere, but damn, you could do something else. You put Mandy and Asuka on the fucking pre-show for all I care. Kevin Owens versus Rowan's next, and Daniel Bryan's on commentary. Rowan had the upper hand through most of this match. Nothing really happened that was exciting. He throws Owens to the outside, and Bryan's just trashing Owens, calling him a lazy coward, and continues to egg on Owens until Owens finally jumps him, beats him up. Then Rowan comes from behind and throws Kevin Owens into the steel steps and hits him with a crossbody. Bryan gets on top of Owens and starts grounding and pounding him. Owens is holding his knee that he had surgery on. Then the returning Mustafa Ali comes out and goes on the attack, taking out both Bryan and Rowan until Bryan hits a knee from the apron onto Ali. Bryan brings Ali back into the ring but gets hit with another stunner by Kevin Owens, and Owens and Ali stand tall as Bryan is grasping in fear for his WWE Championship. Now again, I'll let you know my feelings on this in the Fastlane predictions, and we'll see what happens on the road to WrestleMania as far as where Ali stands coming back and where Kofi's going to be once he shows back up. Charlotte is out next, and she taunts the fans and makes fun of them, starting a Becky chant for the crowd. And Becky makes her way out, hobbling down to the ring again with a crutch. Becky says it's great to be back and says her body's hurt, but she's okay, and that she's in Charlotte and Ronda's head. Says Ronda hit her with her best, but she's still standing and ready to fight again, and that Becky is on Charlotte for months. She says that her body is damaged, but she said damaged people are the most dangerous people because they have nothing to lose. Charlotte, then being the dick that she is, kicks Becky's crotch out from under her and attacks Becky, kicking her in her injured ribs and attacking her busted knee. Becky then attacks with the crutch and puts Charlotte in the disarmor and won't let go. And she's just holding it, and Charlotte's just screaming. And then finally, the refs pull her off. Becky smiles at Charlotte, who's standing on the outside clutching her arm, and says, "I'll see you at Fastlane." And Becky stands tall to end Smackdown. And guys, before we get out of here, it's time for the Fastlane preview and predictions. As I stated earlier, Andrade Cien Almas versus Rey Mysterio will be on the pre-show. Again, like I said earlier, I don't believe that needs to be on the pre-show. I believe you can move Asuka and Mandy Rose to that, or Sasha and Bayley versus Samoa Slaughterhouse to that, or really any match, because those two guys just know how to perform and they'll outperform anybody on the card. But with that being said, I think Andrade is going to win the match. He's due for another big win. You know, he's been on kind of a losing streak. He just lost to Samoa Joe, and I think he needs this big win. So I'm going with Andrade. Raw Tag Team title match, Rude and Gable versus Black and Ricochet versus The Revival. Now this match is just makeshift, you know, it's just a throwaway match, and you know, I'd be surprised if they gave the titles to Black and Ricochet, but my heart says they're going to keep it on The Revival, at least for a little bit. You know, keep The Revival happy, because everybody else is going to AEW, and you know Revival want to go to AEW, so, you know, just to keep them happy, I think they'll keep the tag team titles. Smackdown Live Tag Team title match, The Usos versus The Miz and Shane. This one's a no-brainer. You know where this is going. The Usos are going to win the match. They're going to retain the tag team titles. And The Miz is going to turn on Shane, thus setting up their WrestleMania match. That's my personal opinion. Now, it could happen where Shane turns heel. You know, it was rumored for months that he was the one going to be turning heel before, you know, the authority figure storyline changed. So, this could be an interesting way to get Shane McMahon into a heel role. SmackDown's Women's Championship match, Asuka versus Mandy Rose. Plain and simple, Asuka's going to win this match, probably, maybe even a DQ, but I think Asuka's going to win handily in this, just because I don't think Mandy Rose is quite ready for that main event push, and they just want to give her something to do, her being Asuka, giving her something to do for the time being until WrestleMania. We'll see who her opponent is at that time. WWE Women's Tag Team title match, Sasha and Bayley versus the Samoan Slaughterhouse. Easy match here. Sasha and Bayley will probably retain because they're the brand new champs, and you know they're the workhorses of the WWE and the women's division, and they're going to be the ones holding that belt for quite a while. I see them holding it possibly until SummerSlam. So we'll just see how that goes, but I'm pretty sure Sasha and Bayley, the Boss and Hook connection, will retain. The match that I really don't care about. The Shield versus McIntyre, Corbin, and Lashley in a six-man tag. You know what this is. Everybody knows what this is. Anybody with a brain knows what this is. It's an attempt at a feel-good moment to capitalize on the feel-good moment of Roman being diagnosed cancer-free, and he's in remission. You know, as much as I love Joe and Wyatt the person, I don't really care for the Roman Reigns character, and I never have. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that. But, you know, I can separate the person and the character. But they're going to do this just to have that feel-good story. And with Ambrose being on his way out, you know, it's just a nice little send-off for him. Shield's going to win. Easy victory for them. I hope this match doesn't go more than 5 minutes, because at this point I'm just sick of seeing Corbin and Lashley on my television screens. The WWE Championship match, Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens. Now, remember, I had a little bit I was going to say about this. I don't think this match is going to end with a pinfall or submission. I think it's going to be a no contest. I think that Kofi Kingston and the New Day are somehow going to get involved, and I also believe Mustafa Ali is going to get involved. And I do believe that that's going to lead to a fatal four-way for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania, which the WWE Championship right now has really nothing going for it other than this. You know, with the rise of Kofi Mania and all that stuff, and Kevin just being cheered because he just came back. Daniel Bryan's on a roll, even though, you know, I'm not a fan of his, but he's on a roll. It's just going to be interesting to see And I think having that 4-way will help spice it up a little bit, because right now, the main event's tied up with the women. So guys got to come out and start doing something. And last but certainly not least, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. If Becky wins, she's added to the Raw Women's title match at WrestleMania. Again, another no-brainer. Becky wins this. We're having a nice little triple threat at WrestleMania. And with all this build, this is the main event. And I'm happy for the women to have this opportunity to main event a show like this. But it wouldn't have been this way had Ronda Rousey not been around to help boost the women's division. But I'm happy for the women, the women's revolution, whatever, as much of a scam as some parts of it are. I'm happy for these women and they get the opportunity to showcase their talents at WrestleMania. And of course, I think the man Becky Lynch is going to win this match and head into WrestleMania for this triple threat. And we'll see how it goes, man. Let's have fun on the road to WrestleMania. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to grow this as best as I can, and I know we're going to have a few bumps and bruises along the way. But I hope you guys can join me in growing this podcast into the best podcast they can be. Appreciate all of your support. You can follow us on Facebook. That's www.facebook.com/Strongcast Wrestling Podcast. Also, subscribe to the podcast on the following platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, PocketCast, OverCast, and RadioPublic. You can also subscribe on YouTube. You can find us searching Strongcast Wrestling Podcast. And you can follow me, the king of Strongcast, on social media at the TBiggs79 on Twitter. That's THETBIGGZ79 on Twitter. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the ring.